Good evening and welcome to the IAC USA Power Hour. This is the chapter for the United States for the International Association of Coaching. And with us today on our a volunteer member is Leo Gerlino. And we also have um, Betsy Martinez. She is the member of the Board of Governors and the past coordinator of the global chapter. Welcome and thank you for being with us. And we thank all the guests that we have. I think I saw Princess on here. So we want to thank you. And we also want to just let you know that we have a special guest with us today. And her name is Linda Arellano, and she is a seasoned performance-based consultant, and she's been consulting for 20 years. But infused with her consulting, she used her creativity. Now she's transitioned to a coach and has a lot to share with us. She's guided individuals to unlock their fullest potential. And with a vibrant tapestry of life experiences, Linda brings depth, empathy, and a pearl of uniquely practical wisdom to her coaching practice. Her techniques, honed through both personal exploration and professional development, are designed to empower artists, writers, creatives, and tonight, coaches to overcome their blocks, find their authentic voices, and achieve their dreams. So whether you're just starting or looking to rekindle your creative spark, Linda's insights tonight and guidance will help us to navigate the complexities on our creative journey. Join us as she shares the tools, the strategies, and lessons that can transform your creative process and lead you to your best, most fulfilling work, not only as a coach, but also for your clients. So, Linda, welcome. Thanks for coming and sharing with us today.
Thank you. It is a delight to be here. I thank you so much for the invitation and the opportunity to share. So I'm glad to be here.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
It's your show.
What are you going to bring to us today? What are you going to share with us right now?
Well, what I'm going to share with you is a little bit of background about why possibilities and creativity have actually become values of mine, and the reason behind that. And then I'm also going to share how it can also possibly do the same for coaches and their clients. And I am just delighted to be here. Thinking about all the potential and all the ripple effect just has me smiling ear to ear.
Thank you. And for our audience, we are talking about curating possibilities tonight. So grab your hats and let's sit tight and get ready for the ride. So Linda, the floor is yours. And she needs to share her screen.
Yeah. Hold on just one second here. And share sound. Okay. Oh, I want to go. There we go. All right. How much fun is this? We get to have a conversation about possibilities, because possibilities matter. And the reason why possibilities matter is because a possibility is just simply a change. It's a desired change. And I believe it's at the crossroads of every choice that we make, and that creativity is involved in it, whether we're aware of it or not. So it's very, very special for me to be here. When I talk about why it's so important to me, I think we all have had our own crossroads in life where we had to make a decision. And some of those decisions, we were able to self-actualize. We were able to, develop a plan, be able to get the results that we wanted on our own, or maybe with a little help from other people. But there are those crossroads in life where, for me, there have been crossroads in life where there had to be something greater than myself in order for these possibilities to come to fruition. And so that's what I wanted to really talk about tonight, because I believe that happens not only in our lives, but our clients' lives as well. They come to us looking for a change. And I believe that change starts with a possibility that it can happen. When I talk about that crossroads for myself, I was at a very desperate crossroad a couple of years ago. And I could either take the one way, which was, not growth mindset, let's just put it that way, very much in denial, very much self-control. Or I could look and say, it's possible that maybe there's another way that I can do this with the help of what I call, God. And that's what I decided to do. And I found that when I started with just a possibility that something could be true, I didn't have to believe it, because a lot of times clients come to us and they don't believe. They doubt, they have that self-doubt. And I have found that if I can just start with somebody, including myself, saying, it's possible that this might be true. Okay, well, let's start from here. What if it is true? And so that's where we start tonight. Let's see here if I can click. There we go. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to explore some possibilities. We're going to practice some possibilities. And I call it curating. And what I mean by curating is sometimes, a lot of times our possibilities do not come true exactly the way that we originally envisioned them, because it's beyond our control sometimes of the outcome. And I know as a very self-actualizing type A individual, that is really hard for me to admit sometimes, that I don't have the ability to determine the outcome, that the outcome is beyond me. So what I end up doing is I end up curating them and holding them and taking small steps, and then they kind of evolve. And I think you'll see that tonight. And then, of course, we need to celebrate possibilities when they do come to fruition. So my own recipe for possibilities is humility, as I just spoke about, creativity, and adaptability. And the adaptability is because, once again, as much as we think we know what the outcome is going to be, a lot of times something else shows up, and we need to be adaptable to accept it, and even maybe implement creativity based on what we didn't want if we can't accept it. But humility is important, creativity is important, and adaptability. So when I spoke about being at that crossroads, I did a really deep dive into what humility meant to me. And so I'd like you just kind of to reflect on what your, definition, what it means to you to have humility. Because what's really important about this recipe is what you believe what humility is. It's not what I believe, it's what you believe, and vice versa. It's what our clients believe. We can believe one thing, but it's what they believe that is going to make the difference. So if you think about that, my definition of humility is a little bit, it's very personal to me. And I chose a definition from a book called Language of the Heart. And this is why I see humility for today as that safe and secure stance midway between emotional extremes. It's a quiet place where I can keep enough perspective and enough balance to take my next small step up the clearly marked road that points toward eternal values, to find and do the will of God. That's what humility means to me. It can mean something totally different to somebody else. I remember once I had an executive coach and we were doing our top values, and humility was one of her top values, and I didn't understand it at the time. I understand today. I understand how important humility is and how at times that can be difficult for me to maintain. But it is very, very important to me.
I would like to respond as far as what humility, were you looking for answers? Did you want
Sure, if you like. Sure.
Humility to me means realizing that as I am, I'm not complete, I'm not whole, and being open to receive what the Lord has for me to become whole, and know that I'm on a journey to get to be that, and also to fulfill a purpose, allowing other people and things in to help me to become what He wants me to be.
Thank you for sharing. That was beautiful. That was a really holistic definition of humility. Anybody else like to share? No? Okay. So the next part of this is creativity. And once again, I did a deep dive into what my personal definition of creativity is. And I ask you to do the same, because if we're looking at using the possibility equation and having creativity in it, it's important to know what that means to you. I used to think that, people were only creative that could paint, draw, sing, but I see creativity in all kinds of occupations in different ways. And it just really matters to that individual whether we think of ourselves as being creative or not, and what that means. Anybody want to share?
I'll share again.
Okay, Renee.
Creativity for me means that to receive and acknowledge not only what I provide, but what others provide without judgment, and allowing it to stand to mean whatever that person is bringing and whatever I bring and whatever that might mean to me when I put it out there for others to see or to hear or to look at, however they receive it. But also, it just, again, the importance is putting out a product or putting out something that I've done or someone else has done, and it's acknowledged, and it's acknowledged without judgment.
Yes, judgment is, you know, a, I want to say sticky part of creativity. It can prevent a lot of people from showing their creativity because they are fearful of judgment or they judge themselves. Most people, if they're, like me, I'm my own worst critic. There's nobody that can criticize me like I can. So that is beautiful that that's what creativity means to you.
Well, let me add something. The freedom to be able to present or to offer up or to provide. The freedom to be able to do that and not and do it without judgment.
Mm-hmm. Right. The freedom.
Yep.
Well, once again, my chosen definition is from the Book of Creativity by Matthew Fox. And he says, where the divine and the human meet is experienced as creativity and new creation, which is accompanied by risk, surprise, and the courage needed for both. New creation brings renewal, resurrection, and forgiveness with it, bigger than we are, urging us to go to the edge and grow larger. And I mean, a lot of people look at as creativity as being, bringing something new into, existence, to reality. And that can be true for one individual, but creativity could be entirely different for somebody else. There's all different ways that we can be creative as coaches. And so I'm glad to be able to bring this tonight to that important mission of, helping people become the best human beings that they can be. Because I believe, my second definition is that creativity, is what, is a possibility with us and our inevitable creator, and with me, when I'm creative, I'm kind of a cross between Tinkerbell and a lady named Jill, who at IDEO, which is a creative firm, she sees it as being creative, not starting from scratch. You don't necessarily have to be the sole originator to be creative. You can take somebody else's creativity and make it different. It's not like we have to start from scratch. I think sometimes clients and myself and others get in that mindset, well, in order to be creative, I can't look at somebody else. Well, no, you can get inspired by somebody else. And like I do a lot of Tinkerbell. I look at it. If you've ever seen the cartoon Tinkerbell, she looks at something and is like, well, what if you did this? Then it might work better. And really, that's what I did as a consultant. And so I'm just, it's something that I believe we are all creative. I think it's just a matter of defining what that means to you personally, as I've said before. And once again, adaptability and possibilities are forms of change. Now, when it comes to change, and remember when I talked about that crossroad of deciding to change or not to change because you didn't believe it was possible, the willingness factor there to just start believing in a possibility is the first start to making a possibility a possibility. Willingness is everything to the key to possibilities. And once again, that willingness comes from, dissatisfaction, desire to make a change, the belief that change is possible. But we all know as coaches, if the pain isn't great enough, it's a lot harder to change. Whatever that pain stone is what is going to motivate someone to change. So from the book of Science of Possibility, this gave me the inspiration for this presentation. And every moment we are at a fork in the road. And I believe, you know, do we fish for possibilities, or do I choose not to fish for a possibility? So if I'm looking for a change, I have a decision to make. Do I fish for a possibility, or do I not fish for a possibility? And that's why I'm so passionate about what I'm talking about tonight, because once again, just that willingness, adaptability, and, you know, the belief that it's just possible. You don't even have to believe it's true. It's just that it's possible. So when we're fishing, we don't know what's in the water. We think we know what's in the water. We think we know the fishes that are in the water, but we don't necessarily know the fishes in the water. And so I chose this quote that from Robert Altman, you know, love fishing. You put that line in the water and you don't know what's on the other end. Your imagination is under there. So when you're fishing for possibilities, keep that in mind. So a lot of people with creativity have probably heard of Edward de Bono. He has a very infamous practice of the 6 creative hats, the 6 thinking hats. And I decided to go over those and put them into a fishing hat to kind of give me this visual of a rainbow fishing hat when I go fishing for possibilities. So if you're not familiar with it, the 6 thinking hats, you know, help us, you know, think and communicate clearer. It's easy for us to switch gears. If you're in a big brainstorming meeting, you can say, hey, you know, how does your red hat feel about that? Or maybe it's time to take off that black hat and put on your yellow hat. It's kind of a, what's the way I'm looking for it? A symbolic way, and it doesn't feel as personal. I've seen it used in a lot of brainstorming sessions. So the white hat is for, you know, facts, figures, and data. Our red hat is for the, you know, intuition, emotion, how it makes us feel. The black hat is for, you know, that thought in our head, why it can't be done, what's hard about it, why it won't work, why it's not possible. The yellow hat is more hope. It's on the bright side, why it will work. The green hat is for creative. That's new ideas, different perspectives. Lateral thinking, which will give us our creative problem-solving thinking. And then the blue hat is for the process, meaning, you know, the control, the organization, the calm, everything that comes with developing a process, being able to be not swayed one way or the other. So fishing is not just a hobby, it's a state of mind, and I've talked about that a lot. And so these are 8 questions that I use to start fishing for possibilities. So the first one would be, what is my state of mind with this possibility? And, you know, I have to really look and think, what am I truly thinking about this possibility? Do I really believe it's possible? Have I seen other people accomplish it? Have they accomplished things similar? I mean, what is my mindset? Have I done something similar? Just looking at holistically. And then I ask myself, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how possible do I believe this possibility is possible? And then the third question I ask is, what is stopping me from believing this possibility? This is where I get a lot of information of what I need to reframe, you know, look at things differently. But the important thing is I can't push them down and act like they don't exist. Because with me, they will come out subconsciously in other ways, and they can actually sabotage my creativity and my possibilities. So
You're talking about I'm sorry, may I interrupt you for a minute?
Yes,
Are you
sure.
talking about your as a coach or what, or to a client? Are you saying as a coach that would it would come out in other ways? Are you looking at this from being a coach and asking these questions of
Sure, you
yourself
could,
before you enter into a session?
yes, you could, if there was a particular possibility that, for example, a recent thing that I'm doing is doing a ghostwriting project. And so sometimes before I go into a session with the author, I have to ask myself, do I really believe that what he's trying to achieve here is possible? And so I would walk through this, yes. And if
So
I
I would,
find out, right, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm finished. You can finish. I'm sorry, I thought you were finished, but go
No,
ahead. Finish your
no,
statement, your
no,
thought.
I was just going to say that if something came up with him, for example, where there was a change that needed to happen to occur, something needed to be created, then before we actually sat down and created it, I would go through this, yes.
Right. So now, as the coach, you are opening up your own mind to the possibilities or what you believe about what you're getting ready to enter into in a session with a client and the possibilities that could be possible.
I know we
Yes?
use the word possible a lot, don't we?
I know. But that's what it is. That's
That's
where,
what it is.
because I could see these eight steps as being utilized with coaches themselves before they even have a session with the client, and then having
Mhm,
and asking these same questions to the client as well. So
mhm.
together, you're getting to a place where you both have to kind of open up on both sides, which I guess initiates the ability to dream bigger, to think larger, to think about something that seems impossible, but could possibly become possible.
That's what I call co-creating. That's when you're co-creating with the client. You're co-creating something that the client, it's always about what the client wants to achieve with me. So it's whatever the client wants to achieve. And a lot of times what they want to achieve, just like I said at that crossroads in the beginning, they don't believe it's possible. And so it's really important to walk through this so that they recognize everything that's around their mindset of that possibility, because that's all going to influence our mindset is what influences, as you know, what we actually do
So
regarding that.
let's look at, can we look at step number 5?
Mhm.
Because you say, when am I most creative? Now, taking that from a coaching perspective, the coach is doing self-reflection. How is that important? Can you explain, go a little deeper
Sure.
into?
From a creative standpoint as a coach, why that is important is because when we are being creative, it is important to realize our mindset, our energy. There's certain times when I'm more creative than others, and I need to make that a routine. So if I'm working on a project like I am now, I know that it's best for me to work on it right after in the morning, um, is usually when I'm most creative. I tend to be a very early riser, so my mornings are when I am most creative. But that routine is important because for me, I can just speak for me, but when I'm creating, I never know what's going to show up, but it's really important for me to show up consistently.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then number 6, talk to me about what small steps are possible for me to explore this possibility. What kind of small steps could be taken to explore the possibility?
Well, I mean, it depends, with coaching. I mean, when I looked over your masteries, um, everything's very unique to the client. So it would depend on the client and the scenario. Um, it could be, do you want to give me a scenario?
Okay, so um, let's say I, as a client, a client, but I'm a coach, but I'm a client. I have
Yes.
difficulty charging my clients. How can I be creative and hit that goal or address that issue? Because that's a block.
Yes, it is a block, and it's a block that many, many people have. And usually it has been my experience that is usually a self-worth belief of what that value is. So if I was coaching a client who was struggling with that, I would probably give them maybe some possible small steps of looking into the market, seeing what others were charging, finding what they were comfortable charging, taking small steps towards that.
Okay.
For example, I myself, I do things a little bit differently, but that's just the way I am. Like for me, I'm not comfortable with packages, but that's just my decision. Other people are comfortable with packages because it is a long-term commitment. Depending on the package, there may be ways that maybe they could break it up and test market what they felt they were a little bit uncomfortable with. It's just like with anything. There's like a stretching assignment that you would give them around the objective.
Okay.
Little small stretching assignment.
And let's look at number 8. What is my litmus test for my creativity? Um, what, how could you do that? How can you test your creativity?
Well, I mean, that can be anything. Creativity is very individual. A litmus test for me might be, submitting 10 pages a month to my client, and happy with the direction that we're going. That might be a litmus test. A litmus test some days maybe if I just was able to start writing and, I showed up. And the important thing about showing up with creativity is for me, and I believe clients too, I've seen it with clients, when we don't show up creatively, we have a tendency to, we don't feel as good about ourselves. If we know we have a creative objective and we are not doing it, it wears on my self-esteem if I'm not accomplishing it. So it's important to have those benchmarks of, that's why I walked us through, why it's so important to know what creativity is to you. Creativity to me for a long time, I was a script writer. I did infomercials, things like that. And so my creativity was based on whether or not we had so many sales and conversions and upsells. And today I look at my litmus test being totally different. I look at my litmus test as being, are my clients' possibilities, becoming a reality or something similar to that? Because I'm focusing on possibilities and the individual and not a huge entity, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes. So creativity, you had mentioned the 9 masteries before. So creativity still enables coaches that that has the 9 masteries as their foundation to be able to continue to uphold those masteries and expose clients to what could be possible. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there are different things that if people want to explore their creativity, one of them, I mean, just a couple of things I can think of. You can go to mycreativetype.com. Adobe has a really good creativity, test for you to understand your creativity a little bit better. There's a book called Breakthrough Creativity by Levesque, and she talks about different types and strengths of creativity. For me, it was really difficult, and it still can be at times, communicating exactly what creativity is because it's so individual with each person. But it's bringing something that didn't exist before, a change, and that's what coaching is all about, is bringing about a change in a mindset so that they'll have different actions.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, okay. So we have at least 15 minutes left at this time, and you can bring your, Linda, they're in the chat, they're asking for you to write your recommendations of the links in the chat before we end. So you get the chance to do that now because Leo is going to share an infomercial that's just going to take a few minutes, and then we'll come back with you and you can share some closing statements and take questions from the audience.
Okay.
So I think you might have to stop sharing your screen so Leo can share his.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you, Linda.
Mm-hmm.
Let me share the screen. And begin here. Just thank you, Linda. Very mind-opening what you were teaching to us today. Okay, that's here is the invitation to all of you to join us in our next IIC USA chapter meeting. The next meeting, the second Friday of the month. Every month, the second Friday, next would be on May 10, 5:30 p.m. Okay. The next power hour would be on May 16th at 7 p.m. Just as today. The speaker will be announced soon because we have no speaker confirmed until now, but we are confirming maybe until the end of this week.
Right.
The invitation is that if you would like to make a change in the world of coaching, let's do it together. Become a volunteer today, and here you have the phone number, and you can reach us in Facebook and Instagram. Okay, and remember, our monthly meeting, the second Friday of every month, and the Power Hour, the third Thursday of each month at 7 p.m. Okay, that's all. Become a volunteer, join us. We are working a lot, and we'd like you to work with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Leo. So, Linda, we're back with you now. And if you have something or comments that you would like to share with us at this point, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks. Hold on, wait a minute. What did I do? Can I share again? Is that possible?
I think you should
Charlie,
be able
please
to.
let her
She has to share.
share.
Okay, there we go. There we
Right.
go. Okay. Well, how did we get back to? There we go. Okay. So when we talk about there's 5 things that I love about fishing for possibilities. And this is what empowers my brain to be able to say, okay, I can self-actualize some of this, or a client can self-actualize some of this. And that is, we get to choose what to fish, when to fish, where to fish, why to fish. And the most fun is we get to choose who to fish with. We can fish by ourselves, or we can fish with others, which is what I refer to as co-creating. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not a fisherman. I'm not sure why I was given this symbolism for tonight. I would like to think it's because, what is that old saying? You teach somebody how to fish, they can feed themselves. I can't even think of what it is. What is it, Renee? You know it. Teach somebody how to fish.
Right. When you teach someone how to fish, in other words, instead of giving them the fish, teach them to fish, and then they can support themselves.
Exactly. So, so I've talked about it a couple of times, and you know, humility is very, very important to me in creativity. And the hardest part about fishing for
there
me
you go. Thank you, Princess.
is that we don't know the real possibility or even the outcome. And that can be really difficult when it comes to creating, because we think we know, but then something else might happen and we have a different possibility, but it might be an even better possibility than we originally started with. And so that sometimes can be difficult for myself and others, because we have this vision of what we thought we were going to create, and then it turns into something else that's beyond our control. And it may be even better. It usually is. So, you know, realizing that it's just a possibility, and it's really beyond my capability, because there is very few things I can actually control when it comes to, you know, I can't change how others believe. I can't change how others think, or what even their actions or anything about them. So that can be very difficult when working with clients, realizing that. And for me, that helps me become even more creative. When I recognize that, I'm like, okay, I can't make this person change, but what can I do differently? How can I be different that might help them change? But it's not a guarantee that they're going to change. And I have to recognize that. And I love this quote from the Possibility Principle by Mel Schwartz. Uncertainty frees us from the harness of determinism and lets us join in the flow of possibilities. It frees us from, the limitations of predictability, and it invites us in our participation to envision and actualize the future. We must view uncertainty as our ally. And I think that is, for me, one of the biggest lessons about creativity is making uncertainty my friend. And it didn't come easy, guys. That's all I'm going to say is it didn't come easy. But things are a lot easier to be creative when I look at it that way. So, I just really want to wish you guys, good fishing in the waters of possibilities and catching the possibility for the highest good, which is our clients' growth. And, I'd love to hear from you. There's my contact information. I'd love to know what you end up catching and how it feeds you and your clients. So with that, I could certainly answer any questions anybody has.
Princess said the statement, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Yeah. And she also said, thank you, Linda.
Oh,
but
you're
thank
welcome.
you. I thank you, Linda. I hear, adaptability, creativity, and humility. But one other thing that you spoke about is being able to relinquish control. Sometimes as coaches, we go in thinking we have all the answers, but when creativity is involved, there might come a point where we won't have control, but we would be able to see what we believe can be possible become possible. And I want to thank you, and I hope that everyone was inspired by the time that we had on with this Power Hour. And we open the floor for any questions. We have 5 minutes left. So does someone have any questions that they would like to ask Linda? You can put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask the question. We're waiting for movement. So, are there particular traits or mindsets that enable some people to be more successful at realizing their ability to be creative? Oh, there's a message. Go ahead.
I think that self-awareness is important because there is an inner critic when it comes to creativity, and being aware of that inner critic allows us to manage that critic. If we're not aware, that inner critic can turn into self-sabotage. And I think willingness is important too. I mean, I mentioned that before, but just showing up. I mean, just saying it's possible. That's really my message, because we really don't know what's possible until we start.
That's right. And and the key is getting started.
Yeah. Yeah.
just wanting to get started to do that. And I'd like for you to send me that, the 8 steps that you mentioned, because I think that those are, it's worth putting out there, like worth even attempting, not only with the client, but with myself first. And the other question that I have is, are there any common challenges or obstacles that individuals that are creative that they experience?
Well, I mentioned it before, and I mean there are a lot, but that inner critic is crucial to creativity. Because if that inner critic is not listened to and acknowledged, and then reframed into what it actually is, then it can turn into performance paralysis. I mean, that's kind of the far end of the spectrum. That's why people procrastinate. That's why they don't get things done. If it's something that we truly believe is possible, then we will show up and, you know, do our best to take the next step to make it a possibility.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. I know that I'm inspired and never thought about, again, as a coach, about being creative as I coach. So I am grateful to have this conversation today with you, Linda. And I hope that other coaches that are seeing this will also consider letting loose the reins and going with the mindset of what could be possible and going through those 8 steps first before having that time with the client so that they are free and open, and then they can get their client to become free and open to possibilities as well in reaching their goals. So thank you
Mm-hmm.
so very much. And that put it like a little, that's a gem that I'm going to keep in my mind. And I'm hoping the coaches here will also reflect on this time and creativity and what can happen, making the possibilities possible. So thank you very much, Linda, for being with us today. And I hope we will that we will keep in touch with you and possibly have you come back and talk with us again.
Welcome.
So this is the end of our Power Hour, and we want to thank everyone for being here with us. And again, our next Power Hour will be May 16th, I'm sorry. And our next chapter meeting is May 10th, 5:30. So look out for that information. We'll have it on our Facebook page and our Instagram as well. So thank you for being with us. And we want to say thank you to our support team. Thank you, Charlie and Juan, and thank you, Mario, the interpreter that we have here tonight. So thank you all for being a part of this time, this space. Have a good night.
Renee,
and we'll see you.
Maybe if everyone could open their camera
Oh, a
to
shot
take a
for a
photograph
picture.
and ask Linda
Yes.
to stop in sharing.
Oh,
You
sorry.
can start
Yep.
sharing your screen.
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, let's wait. Let's wait.
You're big.
Okay,
Linda's in there
smile.
now. You have to change the view. Change the view.
Okay. Okay. Right. I